Hi, you guys. So this morning in our Google Meet, we went ahead and we read chapter 7 of Waiting for the Magic. But for those of you that weren't able to make it, I'm going to go ahead and read chapters 7 and 8 and record them and put them onto our Google Classroom. So here we go. Chapter 7. After Marvelous Murphy went home, Gran and Grandfather came for lunch. I dragged Emma away from the blanket that covers Rhode Island, said Grandfather. Gran dropped her knitting bag and went to pet all the dogs. Oh, you excellent dogs, she said. Are you the most beautiful things in the world? They are, agreed Eleanor. I should knit them winter coats, said Gran. What color? She got out her measuring tape and began measuring Grace. Oh, Mama, for heaven's sake, they don't need slip covers, said Mama. Not now they don't, but when bad weather comes, they'll want knitted coats. Grace. I, for one, would love a knitted coat. I'm always cold in the winter. Blue, please. Eleanor said she'd like a winter coat, said Eleanor. Yes, Lammy, said Gran. I heard her. Blue. Eleanor sat down and stared at Gran. Gran's just kidding, Eleanor, I said. It's magic, said Eleanor stubbornly. Gran gave me a measured look. You don't believe in magic, William? She asked. There's no such thing, I said. Aha, said Gran, measuring Biddy from neck to tail. You aren't young enough. Not old enough? Maybe not brave enough. I stared at Gran. What does that mean? I asked. Magic, said Eleanor fiercely, eyes half shut, brow furrowed, what Mama called her Miss Cranky Pants look. It made Gran and me laugh, and I forgot to find out just what Gran meant. Not brave enough. It was evening. Mama was in the kitchen when the phone rang. Get that, please, she called. Eleanor, who loved the phone to answer the phone, answered, Hello, the house of Eleanor. I smiled. I had taught her to say that. Hello, Papa, said Eleanor in her small voice. She did not look happy or sad. She was just very still. You should have called before. You said you would. The dogs looked up. Yes, said Eleanor. Yes. She paused. Where are you? I have a cat, Papa. Mama appeared in the kitchen doorway listening. Her face was pale. Her name is Lula. She wears my baby clothes. Do you want to talk to William? Eleanor looked at me and I shook my head. Eleanor looked up and saw Mama. Papa, I miss you, Papa, said Eleanor. Her voice seemed to have gotten even smaller. Mama wiped her hands on a towel. I'll speak to him, Eleanor, she said, pointing to the kitchen phone. Eleanor hung up the phone. Papa's been sick. That's why he couldn't call, she said, her eyes filled with tears that spilled over and down her cheeks. Eleanor never cried. Elle, I said. Elle, it's all right. But I knew it wasn't all right. I put my arms around her, and she leaned into me. Grace came over and nosed her arm. Eleanor put her arm around Grace, so the three of us were standing there, locked together. Don't cry, I said. Grace. She has to cry. You have to cry too, William. Grace looked up at me with a sharp look. We could hear Mama speaking in a voice that was sometimes soft and sometimes louder on the kitchen phone. I patted Eleanor's back. Grace looked at me again with that look. Mama would have called it earnest. Finally, she moved away and went to join the other dogs. Eleanor and I stood there for a long time listening to Mama's voice from the kitchen, and at the end of Mama's conversation, after she had hung up the phone with a slam, she had provided Eleanor with another bad wood for her bad wood list. The word was idiot. Forever number 3 after stupid and fat. Chapter 8. Eleanor didn't cry again after that one time. It wasn't that I had said anything to make her feel better. It wasn't that Mama comforted her. Mama hadn't seen Eleanor cry, and Mama was like me. If you don't talk about it, maybe it isn't there. Most of all, I think Eleanor didn't have any tears left in her. For Eleanor, summer was tea parties under the maple tree with her friend Mavis. The dogs were invited. They ate bits of toast and jam, raisins that got stuck in their teeth, and dried apricots that mystified them. Eleanor and Mavis knighted Lula. They made a crown with a rubber band chin strap for her. Lula sat for hours with the crown, looking out the windows of the house. Other times she walked around the house with it dangling around her neck like an oversized necklace. Lula didn't care. Max and I played soccer in the park, running morning until evening, when we'd come home and drop. Neo and Biddy would lick the sweat off our faces if Mama didn't see, and we would shriek with laughter on the floor. Summer without Papa was easier somehow. But there was always that phone, that threat that Papa would call again. Or was it the fear that he wouldn't? One thing I knew, if he wasn't here, he couldn't leave again. One day, Mama set the breakfast table again. Plates, a tablecloth, flowers, and cloth napkins. "Another talk," announced Mama. "Sit down and drink your juice. I have some news. This is kind of private news, just for us, okay?" Bryn: "She's talking." Lula: "Yes." Eleanor looked at Lula, then Mama. Mama sat down. She picked up one of the cloth napkins and twisted it in her hands. The animals stopped their restlessness. There was silence in the room. Lula sat on the washing machine, her crown hanging around her neck. "Well," said Mama, "here it is, the news." She took a deep breath. "I'm going—" She stopped. She looked at Eleanor with an expression of fear. "Actually, it's good news," Mama said, with her high, fake, cheerful voice. Then she stopped, and that cheerfulness fell from her face. She looked very serious. "The truth is," she began. Bryn: "Go ahead, say it. I'm going to have a baby. That is, we're going to have a baby." More silence. The silence grew, so I decided to say something. "Oh, well." "Okay," said Eleanor. Grace: "Say something nice, please." Eleanor frowned at Grace. "That is nice," she said, drinking her juice. "Will it be a brother or a sister?" Mama sighed. "Haven't found out yet," said Mama. She looked at me then. "Do you have any questions?" "Yes," I said, surprising Mama. "Does Papa know?" Mama sighed. Bryn: "I was thinking that very same thing." "No, William, not yet." "Why are you telling us?" I asked. My voice sounded angry. I could see tears in the corners of Mama's eyes. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "That's all right. You're right, Will." I was tired of being the grown-up in the house, but I didn't tell her that. "Well," I said, "that's all, I guess." I got up to leave. "I love you." Mama's voice sounded far away and little. "I love you too," I said. "Me too," said Eleanor. We left Mama sitting in the kitchen. "I don't want a baby brother or sister," whispered Eleanor. I grinned. "Of course you don't. You're the princess. But don't worry, you can dress him or her, push him or her around in the baby carriage, and be the boss." "Yes," said Eleanor, grinning, suddenly happy. Grace: "The alpha, definitely the alpha." Eleanor reached out to touch my hand, but held it instead. She held it for a long time. It was nighttime. Neo and Biddy were in my bed. Lula was nowhere to be seen. She'd come later. Mama appeared in my bedroom. "Good night, William," she said. "Mama?" "Yes?" I took a deep breath so I could say what I wanted to say in one breath. "I don't think it's fair for you not to tell Papa about the baby." I'll show you the picture. Neo stirred next to me. Biddy sat up. I was quiet for a moment. "I don't know how to say it," I began. And then it happened. I heard. "Neo, I don't think it will help him to be the father he can be." I stared at Neo. Then I began to talk almost without thinking about it. "I think that it doesn't help him to be the father he can be," I said. Mama stood still for a moment. "You're right." said Mama flatly. Mama didn't kiss me goodnight. She disappeared the way that Grace or Bryn would appear and disappear at the side of my bed. Neo sat on the bed looking at me with those eyes. I reached over and stroked his head. I hurt you, I whispered. Neo, you did. Why now? You were brave. Brave. Gran had said that word once. I felt goosebumps come up along my arms. I have to do something, I said. I got up and walked into Eleanor's bedroom. I knelt down by her bed. Grace lifted her head to look at me. Eleanor, I whispered. What? She whispered back. I heard Neo. She smiled. I could see it in the light from the window. I knew you would, she said sleepily. The magic is real, I said. Yes, Eleanor said. I stood up and looked down at Eleanor. Her eyes were closed. Night, I said. Night, whispered Eleanor. Grace, good night. Okay, we're going to stop right there. I will read chapter 9 to you guys on Monday at our Google Meet in the morning. If you are not able to make it to that Google Meet, I will record them and put them on our Google Classroom. If you guys have any comments or questions about the book that you'd like to put onto the Google Classroom, go ahead and do so, and then I can answer you back, or I can answer them Monday at our Google Meet. Okay, bye, boys and girls. Have a great weekend.